welcome back everybody. My name is Dustin. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today. However, I want to try to make this video anyway. In the last video, it was a little bit less structured. We were able to get a lot done. In this video, we're going to try to tweak the jump a little bit. So if we take a look at the game that we have so far. So right now we can just jump forever. Well, we're going to want to tweak that a little bit so it has more of a gradual jump. It doesn't just jump to the max right away. So we're going to do the jump in steps. And then we're also going to try to add projectiles. And if we have time, we're also going to add in a new display for the logs. So let's take a little look at some changes that I made. So if we go to the logger, I did these changes recently in the background. What I ended up doing is adding in some new logs for Lua, because we want to be able to do the logs from Lua, but I want to be able to read it in the editor. So we needed to do some bindings for Lua logs. However, it can't necessarily be done in the exact same way. So this is the way that I came up with. So we got the Lua log here, and all it does is it takes in the message and it writes it to the stream, adds the Lua info, blah, 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 all that stuff, and we retain the logs as usual. The only problem is it doesn't take any variable arguments. So what I did to combat that is I made some Lua bindings. So if we go into the script system, so Assign Core system, scripting system, and if we look up S2D log right here, so what I ended up doing here is I made these wrapper functions. So right here I did the user type for the logger. So you can just call the logger log warn error, and all you can do is send in a message, right? But in order to get it so we can add variable number of arguments, I created these wrapper functions. So we have this function zzz underscore log. The reason I call it that is because this here is a Lua function that we're writing in the engine, and it takes a string format message, so the message is sent in, and a variable number of arguments, okay? And then if it's a variable number of arguments, then what I do is after I create this, and it's in Lua, it's in the Lua state, so the Lua state has this function now. What I do down here, I do the same thing for warning, and I do the same thing for error. And then down here, I create the S2D log. And what this is, it takes the message, and it takes the variadic args, or variable amount of arguments, and this whole state. And what we do is we get the function from the state. So state view, get the state, get the protected function, and then we call the log message and all of that. It's wrapping the logger. Okay, so then what this does is it allows us to actually hold these messages inside of our logs. All right, and when we call it, it will be called, we can call it basically the same way that we call logs or errors in the engine. However, it uses the Lua style. So let's go check that out real quick. And one place that we did that was, I did that, asset defs here. So not this particular part of the asset defs, where we're loading it. So that would be in our utilities. So utilities, and we'll just find load assets. So here for strings, it's going to be %s, and then if you have like an int, it's going to be %d and stuff like that. And you see we're taking variable arg, so it's load text, kind of like printf, but this will now be in our logger. So we'll have these logs logged in our logger. And if we just run this real quick, and let's just show this here. See how we have our Lua info, and then Scion, we know this is coming from the engine, and we know this is coming from Lua scripts. That was the goal for that. And we want to be able to not have this console up, and we want these messages basically to be dockable or another tab in the engine. That's the goal. So yeah, all these things should be in our log. So if we go to our logger, I'll try to see if we can go to our logger, go to the program, and see if we can go into and stop it on our logger. Logger probably has to log another thing. Yeah, so it's not going to stop in here right now, but that's fine. We know it's being logged because every time it comes in, we're pushing it back into our log entries here, or placing it back. So we have our new, that'll be our new Lua logs. We'll be able to display these in a new display. Hopefully we can get into that in this video, but we'll see what we can do. Right now, I actually want to work on the jump, so let's do that. So in order to get the jump to work, we actually have to be able to reset the number of jumps that the player is doing. So if we actually just take a little look at the game right now, what would be, oh, there we go. So yeah, see, now we're getting into the log. So this is showing you that it's a Lua log, and then it's going to eventually place it right there, right? So we just run it to there, and it's going to place back the log entries, and we will eventually display all this stuff in our editor. But we're not there now, so let's get rid of this and continue. So right now we're just jumping, but what's going to tell the game that the you've done your 2 jumps and it's time to reset? So we need to have something for the ground, so it knows that it's been grounded, right? So in order to do that, we actually have to do that with our tile map. So what I did here was I added a new layer for this particular level, and any new level, we're going to have to do something similar like this. Or if you have a better idea, let me know as well. But this is what I did. I created a new layer for ground. So if we hide all of these, and it'll just show the ground. It's basically everywhere where the ground is, I added a new, basically a collider, but I just gave it the same texture as the trigger, but it's just the ground. And I just labeled it ground. Okay? So you won't actually see that. That stuff will be hidden, kind of like the colliders. You won't see the colliders and all that, but it's basically just the ground. So if we bring this down and we open up our map file, I need to put that in here. So right now, this doesn't have the ground yet. This is the old one right here. So we need to add a new layer for the ground. And I already have that queued up here. Give me 1 second. Copy this and paste it in. All right. And you see how we have our new layer, layer 4, the ground. Okay. However, now that we have that in there, it won't work. So when we run it, we'll just get a whole bunch of errors when we run the game here. If you take a look here, it's like, what is this ground thing? So we need to make some slight changes to how we're loading the tile map now. Okay, so let's do that real quick. And that's in our utilities. So utilities.lua. So we're basically just going to go down here and we have our collider or trigger. Then it comes into here, does the physics attributes. But we also want to add one more here. We'd say or tile set dot name is equal to ground. And we'll add another one down here. It'll add all this stuff in. And we'll just do another, this one will be, like the else can stay. Basically copy all the here. Ground, else if. This is going to be, instead of pull triggers, the ground. False, true. It is a collider, and it is a trigger. And pile ID. And it is a sensor. Basically, everything else should be the same. We have our ground. Let's just run it now, and it should actually work for us. Cool. But now we're just doing some weird stuff because it doesn't know what it's doing. So we're going to have to fix that. Actually, let's quickly see what those errors were. Yeah, so right now it's saying ground has been activated by player, ground has been activated by player, and it's just doing whatever, right? Because that's what's happening in our trigger system. So if we go to our trigger system, which is also another Lua script, in our systems, trigger system, right now we're just checking to see if it's a trigger, right? And if the trigger, it gets sent over here. It doesn't care what trigger it is, and it's changing this here. We need to change that. We're also doing something here where we're just taking the 2 objects and comparing them with each other. We're not checking to see all the other contacts that could also be being touched at the same time. We need to take care of that as well. So what we want to do here is, you know what, we'll just do it all from scratch here. Let's get rid of all of this. And we'll say if object A dot tag is equal to player, then else if object B dot tag is equal to player. And inside of these, first what I'm gonna do is check to see if object B is a pull trigger. So go object B dot group equal to pull triggers. Let's make this bigger. Pull triggers. Then we're gonna want to say self dot on player triggered. Let me say object A B, sorry, object A, because it takes in the trigger and then player. And then end. And what we want to do here now is actually get the contacts and loop through them. So we want to go local UD1 contact is equal to object A dot contact entities. I believe that's what we called it. And then once we have our contact entities, we actually don't even have to say UD1. We can just throw that right into a for loop. That's what we'll do. So we'll say for KV in pairs. Actually, we don't even need K. So we can just say for V in pairs, object A contact entities do. So we want to say if V dot group whole triggers, then want to go self on player triggered, and that would be V object A. Else if V dot group equal to ground, then self dot on player grounded. We're going to have a new function here. So we'll just copy that. And cool. Let's come down here real quick. Just paste that new function that we're creating, that we will be creating. And that's function trigger system on player grounded. And cool. So we have our function. Now let's just copy all of this, paste it in here, and just change it to everything that needs to be changed. And I think that should work. And we'll just come down here and we'll see, we'll say, we don't need to do print anymore. We can actually get rid of this print here. And we can just do a log. So S2D log. And then we can just put this in a quote, move this out here, actually. So all we have to do now for our trigger, so that's the group activated by the player. We no longer need these dots. We can just go in and argument, and that should work for us. Let's copy this. And then we can just say has been grounded. So now, if this works, it's just say whatever the player tag is, which I think is just player, has been grounded. So let's run it and see if we have any errors. No errors so far. Okay, so we got an error. Cool. Bunch of stuff here. That's fine. 44. Temp to index nil value global player. Yeah, 44. Yeah, because it has no idea what the player is. That'll do it. So let's just get rid of this. And just put this here. Player has been grounded. Cool. And we'll run it. All right. It's not freaking out, but it's logging a lot. So that's why we're skipping here. Let's go into here. Yeah, player has been grounded, player has been grounded, player has been grounded. And if we jump, try to jump, and fall in here, we should be able to see the other one. No, too much because it keeps saying player. We keep triggering it. Player has been grounded, but it's doing its job. Cool. Let's actually turn this off for now and make sure that the arguments are still working here. Run them. Cool. So we have this, and let's just drop. Okay, she dropped. Cool. So see, it's triggering twice, but that's fine. We'll deal with that. So whole triggers has been activated by player. Okay. So we don't want it to be triggering twice. So we need to actually add in some type of debounce. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because there could be multiple contacts that's touching the player at the same time, but we don't want them all to be triggered if we don't need them to be. So what I need to do here is create some type of debounce timer. And for now, we'll just create it as a global object. So we'll say G debounce timer. And that's just going to be equal to a timer. Cool. We'll create some new functions here for the trigger system. I will say function, trigger system, debounce. And to debounce, we'll just say return, is the debounce timer running? If it is, then so basically that's just returning true or false. Then function, trigger system, update. And the update function, all we're going to do is say is if debounce timer is running and debounce timer elapsed milliseconds is less than, let's say, 100. Start with a small debounce timer and make it larger as you need. Then we just want to stop the debounce. Okay. Cool. And whenever we get to here, we want to start our debounce timer. So as soon as we come in, we want to go debounce timer. Okay. So it's not being triggered more than once. Now, I don't really care on the ground if it's triggered more than once because you're on the ground. But when it comes to triggering the death of a player or something like that, we're going to have to change this as well. Like on player trigger, that doesn't really make much sense. And all these checks in here don't make much sense either. But what we're going to have to do is like abstract this away. So we're not going to be checking in here. We'll check in here and then it will decide what to do from there because it could just get larger and larger. We're going to have other systems as well, like a damage system and stuff like that. It's not all just going to come to here. But the trigger system is good for things that happen like instant death, landing on a spike or something like that. It's just going to kill you instantly. Or like teleport you or put you somewhere else. So it works good that way. Now that we have our debounce timer, right here, I want to check to see if hold triggers and not self debounce. Then go in. You know what? We can actually put this for the ground as well. Why not? Maybe not. Yeah, we'll take this out for the ground. Cool. And the hold triggers, bounce, bounce, and no. Cool. That should work for us. But now we actually have to go into the game state. Now we have to update our trigger system. Trigger system, we have it here. Trigger system, when can we update it? I don't think it really matters, so just put it here for now. Cool. And let's see if that. So we want to see if it only dies once. And just one time. Perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. And if we go in, it should work again. And it did not. Oh, it probably did, but there. Yeah. So it's doing exactly what we want. Cool. So if you look here, we just ended up with 3 gigabytes of memory. That's because what's happening is my contacts, we're not actually getting rid of our player when we're touching the ground. Because we added this new thing in, we're adding it in as a contact. We don't want this, so we're going to have to add in something else as well. And that comes down to actually my design here. If we go to our contact listener, I thought I was being smart and I ended up causing more issues. It works. We go to the physics and we go to our contact listener here. We're always adding in and resetting and adding contacts, but we're not really checking to see if these contacts should be added in or not. Like if they're friendly and stuff like that, we need to know if we want to add those in. So we're going to need to add in some other stuff for our contact. So right here, let's go to our object data. Let's add in another flag here. And the flag is going to be B is friendly. Okay. It's going to start out as not friendly, and we have to set it to friendly. If that makes sense. And then we're going to have to make some changes here. So here, we're going to first check to see if both the tag and the group are empty, we're going to leave. So we're going to say if tag empty and group empty, we're just going to return false because there's nothing really to care about. I want things to be known. Like if you wanted it to have a contact, I need you to have set it somewhere. Like either has to have tag or group, you have to set it. Another one is if object data. So the object data is being sent in dot tag is equal to the tag of the object or object data dot group is the same. We also want it to leave. That means they're basically part of the same thing. So don't worry about the contact amongst each other. Now we also want to say if B is friendly and the object data is friendly, also leave. Then we can say, actually, let's make it for the trigger as well. So it also has to be a trigger. So NB trigger, or maybe not just a trigger. We'll put it that for now. If we need to make a change, we'll do that later. Object data dot B trigger. So all these, so if they're both friendly and they're both triggers, also return false. Okay. Then we check here. I like it. All right. And remove contact. We only want to remove it if it has the tag. So we're just going to put a check in here just to make sure, or tag or a group. So if the object data somehow got through here, got through adding in up there, if it's empty and the group is empty, also just return. And we're just going to return true here. Like it should even be in there to tell you the truth. So we'll check that out later. And then this looks good. So it's going through and erasing it. All right, I like that. So since we made this change, we also want to go into our contact listener and make a couple changes as well. So right here, we're not checking to see if the pointer is valid. So we're going to want to check to see if it's a valid pointer before we even come in here. So let's go if not contact get fixture A, get user data, get user data pointer, or B's pointer. Get rid of the if here. We're just going to want to set user contacts to null pointer. And then return. Cool. Then we get our user data. There's another bug that I found as well. So we want to say if not A data or not B data or A data type ID is not equal to ENTT So we're gonna have to add that in. Type hash, object data, value, not valid, value, or same for B, data. We also want to do this. Because I had it sometimes when it was destructing the object, it still came here afterwards. Because when you kill a contact or when a body gets destroyed, it just takes it out from the contact listener as well, right? It'll destroy it when you're removing it from the world. It also removes it from the contact listener. So we got to make sure that these values matter. So, and then we also need to add in our ENTT here. Okay, so include and all right. Okay, so we made it here. We have our B any, and then here, and then we want to do these same checks in remove contact. So let's take this as well, and end contact, sorry. Do that there. Then take this one. Do this here. And then we're just going to change this a little bit here. We're going to take this here. Instead of saying false, we're going to do this. We're going to put this inside of here. Now, I think this is going to help give us better results. I'm not sure. Like, I'm still finding bugs as I go. I'm not perfect. If you see something, a better way to do something, let me know, and we'll go from there. So that's looking good so far. Let's just run it to make sure it built. Actually, nope, we're not done yet. So now we need to actually go into our ECS and add that in to our physics component. I believe it's here in our object data. I believe we did that here. We did. Yeah. So object data, B trigger. Need to copy this. It also had B is friendly. B is friendly. That had to be added in. You want to add that in here as well. So for the table, object data, B is friendly. B is friendly. Get or false. All right. And if we're going to do it this way, add that in as well. Be friendly. Dot B is friendly. Is equal to B is friendly. Be friendly, sorry. Be friendly. Cool. So now that we have our B is friendly, we can go to our utilities and make another change. Let's go to utilities, utilities.lua. So if it's a collider, I actually don't care here. I'm just going to get rid of this completely. So I only care if it's a trigger or a ground. If it's a collider, it doesn't mean anything. So we can just get rid of that. And then we need to add in, is it friendly? Triggers are, even though it's probably going to kill us in this sense, they're still going to be friendly. Actually, no, it's false. The ground is going to be friendly. Sure. Cool. And let's run it, see if that works. Okay, so it's running, and looks like we got an error already. Let's see what that is. 110. Doesn't take the number of arguments. $110 right here. So is it a trigger? We need to see phys adder dot object data dot b is friendly or be friendly, right? Or you know what, we're just gonna do is friendly or false. That should be here as well for these, just in case we don't set it. Or false. Run it again. Cool. Let's see our. So it doesn't look like it's going up. Do this. I'm just going to run around a bunch and then we'll see if our memory goes up. So we're at 154. Run, jump, die. All right. Been pretty good. Doesn't seem to be slowing. Do we die again? Cool. So our triggers are still working. All right. See our memory. And 154. Cool. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So yeah, when it comes to like the box 2D stuff and the contact listener, I'm making this stuff up as I go, trial and error. Like I've tried to find better examples on how to utilize this stuff, and it's hard to find good stuff. There's some good stuff out there, but nothing that fit what I wanted. A lot of programming is just trial and error. Good thing that we're not running any spaceships or anything like that, because I'd be crashing a lot. But anyway, it's working the way I want. So now, after all that, we can actually start looking at our jump. So jump steps, I actually want this to be 0, and I actually want to have a max jump steps to be 10 instead. So jump steps is going to basically be the current jump steps. You can say that as well if you like. And max jump steps is going to be 10. The number of jumps is going to be, so a jump step is different than a number of jumps. So the way that I'm going to do it is if you have 2 jumps, a max number of 2 jumps, but the first jump is going to be a variable number of steps before you get to the top of the jump, okay? Here, let me open up Paint and try to explain it here. So if we do this here, I think I can do a free line with it. And so say this is our ground. I want to make different jumps. And the first jump, depending on how long, okay, I guess I can't do that with Paint. But anyway, depending on how long I hold it, I just do it with this. So say I jumping. So if I just tap it, it only jumps so high. But if I hold it longer, it holds a bit higher. And you jump a bit higher, and you can jump a bit higher, right? So depending on how long you're holding the button, that's how high you will jump, okay? And if you do a second jump, so say you do it here, it's going to be, so say this is the max jump here. So, and this is not. So if we just move this, let's say you do this, you hold this long. Okay. On the second jump, I want it so it gives you the max jump off the second jump. So the whole jump would be this high. So the first jump's going to be a variable size jump, and the second jump's going to be the max size that you can do. Now play with this as much as you want. Try to get the feel that you're looking for your character, but this is how I'm going to do it. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, nothing is set in stone. Like make changes as you see fit, and I will do the same. If you have a better way to do it or better algorithms that I'm not doing, post it in the comments below. I'll definitely make the changes. I'm about learning and getting better myself. So I don't know what we all have here. This is the old jump, right? So we're going to want to make some changes here. Are we sending DT in? We are. So let's go local speed is equal to 600 times DT. Then pick another one. We'll jump. This is going to be how high we want to jump, or jump power, we can say jump power. Or you can do it this way, power is equal to, let's say, 1800 times dt. Then we say, did we move? So local B, move, false. So the first thing I want to do is change the gravity. Are we already doing that down here? Yeah, so we're changing the gravity here. Let's actually bring this up. here and put it here. First thing I want to do is change the gravity. So if we're going up, I want my gravity scale to go down. So up is actually a negative value, down is going to be an increased value of velocity. And I want this to go to 2, and we're going to change this to 10 because I want him to drop faster. Now we can mess with these numbers, see what feels good for you. We set our linear velocity to 0, except for velocity y. We want that to keep doing its thing, the gravity do its thing. Okay. And then we get down into here. We're going to want to do to do attack. We're probably not going to get into attacking today or the other stuff because everything else took a lot longer than I wanted it to. But if we're attacking, we're going to make changes here. So we'll just add some stuff in. It won't do anything yet, but we'll just do, we'll just go if keyboard dot just press. What do you want to use? Whatever key you want. I'm just going to put enter for now. Key enter. Then we're going to say self.mb packing is equal to true. Then we're going to say self. We're going to have a new function, and it's going to be called shoot projectile. Now we're not going to do this one right now. We're just going to comment it out. Then we're going to say else if here keyboard dot press key enter. Then we're going to charge. So we're going to say to do charge for stronger projectile. Then we're also going to say self.mb attacking is equal to true. And then else if keyboard dot just released key enter. Then to do if charged shoot bigger projectile. And then we can say self.mb packing equal to false. Cool. So we still got a lot of stuff to do. Like we even have to have charging flag, but we can do all that later. That's just to get the idea. And we already got some stuff here. See if we can reuse this. So this is just our moving left to right. And we can use this, but now we actually have an attacking. So we're going to go if self.mb attacking, then copy that line, else. Okay. And I already know that the attacking sprite is number 9 for when we're facing left. But we're going to want to do the same thing for the facing right. So we just copy this down here. We're not facing left. Else. And cool. For this one, it's 8. 8 and 2. And we also want to say here, be moved equal to true. True. And this is what changes the most. The jump is going to change the most. So remember, we want to check to see if our jump steps is less than our maximum number of steps. Then we want to increase our velocity based on the number of steps that we're currently at. Okay? So, and it's not going to be just pressed here. We're going to say press now. So if press key W, then inside of here we go if self.m jump steps less than self.m max jump steps, then go inside. and go in here and say local up velocity is equal to self.m max jump steps minus self.m jump steps. So what it's doing is it's basically the jump slows down as you go up. So it's going to have your jump steps are going to increase. So that means the number difference is going to get lower as it goes up. And then we're going to multiply this by the negative jump, the jump power. And then we're going to want to do the linear impulse. So we can just copy this one. And then we can say self.m jump steps equal to self.m jump steps plus 1. And we want to say self.m character.mb grounded is equal to false. Now, I don't know if we have this flag in the character yet, so let's go to the character. Character. Grounded is a flag. Cool. So MB grounded is false because we're in the air now. So let's go back to the move state. Grounded is false, and B moved is equal to true. B moved is equal to true. Cool. Then we want to have another if. It's going to be an else if. So else if self.m num jumps greater than 0. Now we only want to increment the number of jumps when we release the key W because we've already jumped by then. Okay, and self.m num jumps is less than 2. Then because we only want to have 2 jumps, we want to say physics dot set gravity scale, set it back to 2. May have changed. Physics. We can actually just copy this linear impulse here. Oh, I made a mistake there as well. Copy and paste problems. Don't do that. So it's not minus 1250 here, it's up velocity. That's what we made this local variable for. So let's get rid of that. Cool. And this one here is going to be self.m max jump steps times negative jump. Then you can have a different value here as you like. I'm going to say times 6 just to see what I get. And we can mess around with this value as needed. Then we can say self.m num jumps is equal to 2. Cool. We can get rid of this here because it's not needed anymore. All right. So, and then here, now I want to check to see if the key has been released. So if keyboard dot just release key W, then this is where I want to set the linear velocity to 0. You basically want to have a stop, but just the Y value. I want it to stop so he jumps from that position when you let it go, if you try to do a double jump again. So physics set linear velocity back to velocity dot x and 0. And then from there we want to self dot m jump steps is equal to self dot max jump steps. Because we've already let go. Here we want it to equal to the max jump steps. They want to say if self dot m num jump steps is equal to 0. Then we want to say self dot m num jumps is equal to 1. Cool. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So now we're going to want to change this a little bit. That's why I added that moved flag in. So I want to say if our velocity is equal to 0 or not be moved, then check to see if the character is facing left. And then if we're attacking, we want to say if self.m.be attacking, then copy this down, else move this over, because it'll have another animation for the attack if it's just standing. If you're not moving, and you're just standing there, you should just be doing your idle. But if you're attacking, you shouldn't be doing the idle. And so that is a 11. If we're facing left, not A, so 11 or 1. Else, we need to copy this again. Here, copy this down. Else, over, and this is 10, I believe. Awesome. So that's resetting back to our idle or shoot animation or standing shot. Cool. So now we want to check to see if we are now on the ground. Okay. So if math.floor of the velocity dot y equal to 0 and self.m character dot m be grounded, not attacking, be grounded, and be, we'll get this, and be grounded, then in here, let's just say n first, there's going to be an else, but we'll get that. Self.m jump steps, 0. Self.m num jumps, 0. We're basically just resetting everything back. Local velocity is equal to physics get linear velocity. And we want to say physics set linear velocity. Set linear velocity back to vel.x and 0. Cool. And then else. So if our player is grounded and our velocity is 0, the floor is 0, reset everything. Okay. Else, we want to do the drop animation or the jumping animation. And you can either be jumping or you can be jumping and attacking. Okay. So we need to basically go if self dot mb, or not mb, m character dot mb facing left, then else, and then if we're attacking, so if self dot mb attacking, then we need the sprite start y equal to 7. That's down 1. Else 5. These are our jump animations. And oh, that's right. Copy this. Now again, probably cleaner ways to do all this stuff that I'm doing, but hey, just let's get it to work and then we'll make things better as we go. Okay, cool. So then we have our to-do, shoot projectile. But we're not done there. Now, remember that in the trigger system, we made this here, the on player grounded. Well, we have to make some changes here. So right here, we need to get the player, okay? So I need to go local player character is equal to get active character. That's going to be G player ID. Now we probably don't have to do that to get the G player. We can probably send in the player here, and that's what we will do, actually. I will say player entity ID. And then from there, we can insert, see if the player character is real. And we say failed to get the player character. Now, I believe I did do a wrapper around assert as well. So let's quickly check that out in our scripting system right here. Yes, I did. So I did a wrapper. So all I did here is I assigned s2d assert is equal to assert. Now the function assert is equal to this here, which takes in an argument to check, takes in the message, and then it takes in the other arguments that we want to format into our method. So basically that's it. And then it asserts, and then it does the actual assert at the end. Does that make sense? So it checks to see if this argument is active, or if it's not nil, or if it's true. It has to be true. And if it's not true, we log an error, format the message, send in our arguments, right? Whoops, don't do that. Send in our arguments, and then we do the actual assertion here. Because we're setting, cool thing about Lua is you can just set assert equal to another function. Now this is the real assert, is actually s2d assert. Okay. So let me go back into trigger system. And now I just want to say player char dot mb grounded is equal to true. All right. Now we did a lot of code there. I'm not sure if it's all going to work. So let's just run it and see. Cool. Errors right off the hop. Great. So move state, we got some syntax errors. Line 36. Let's go to that. 36. Yeah. Equals. You guys probably already saw that. Run it. Oh, okay. And we're in. And we got an error. Cool. Trigger system 57. Yeah, nil player. That's because we didn't end up sending in the player. So I'll go to trigger system. Yeah, so the player, on player grounded. Here, we're not actually sending in the player. So for this one, object A. Send in object A. This one is object B. Oh, object B. Cool, run it. Do it again. And we're not jumping. Glitching a little bit. What kind of error do I have? I do have some errors here. Game state, move state, 86. Global jump. So move state, 86. Here, this jump. I swore I named a variable named jump. Jump power. That's funny. So everywhere there's jump, we need to change that. This particular jump. Jump power. Cool. Run it again. Yeah, see? Oh, look at that. So if I just tap it, it just jumps, and then if I hold it, the higher I jump. Then we have our double jump. And it looks like it's resetting and everything. If I keep hitting it, he can't just keep jumping like before. Run, jump, jump. Perfect. If I hit the enter button, now we have our gun. We're not shooting any projectiles, but it's doing exactly what I want. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we will actually start doing the projectiles, and we'll get the debug logger going. This took a bit longer to do than I wanted to, but we had to get the contacts working. It's still a bit glitchy, but we'll get it working better as we go. All right, but now we got our little Megabot moving around, doing its thing. It's got the gradual jump, and you can jump high and then double jump. Look at that. Perfect. Double jump's a bit high, but not so bad that you're just flying through the whole level. And you can jump through and you can shoot. The animations work. All right. All right. That's it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave some messages in the comments. And other than that, take it easy.